The news making the rounds that the federal government has suspended the planned removal of fuel subsidy. Nigeria's finance minister Zainab Ahmed has denied the report, saying the government has rather expanded the subsidy removal committee to include teams from the incoming administration and the state governors. What do you make of this story?
Well, he's saying the same thing. They don't like it to appear to misunderstand what they are saying. Journalists are practicing interpretative journalism a lot more today than when I was a young reporter. You said that you are expanding the team. You said that the incoming administration will be involved in determining when it will take off. Whereas earlier on, you said it was going to take off on June 1. Now, if you are saying that that you are bringing in the incoming administration and getting the incoming administration to decide by the time when your own administration has gone to decide when this thing can take off, is that not postponement? Of course, it is postponement because you can no longer take off on June 1 that you said earlier. So I don't know what she's denying. She is just denying the obvious. They have made up their minds now that, look, it is better for this administration to come in, determine when it is best for it to remove subsidy. No one is saying they will never remove subsidy. But this story is saying clearly that that removal would not happen imminently. It will happen much later. So that is what people are reporting, and that is accurate. Because in saying that you will let the new administration come in and be part of deciding when this thing will take off, you have clearly told us that it will not take off at the time that you earlier planned that it will take off. So she should spare us all these semantics and the rest. It is clear to us that the takeoff will no longer be on June 1. And one thing is clear, the new administration will be involved in deciding when it will take off rather than the Buhari administration determining for it. So those who reported that it had been postponed, they were very correct. And don't forget that the National Economic Council also made that suggestion. Because it won't be right for this administration, the incoming administration, to walk into a climate of hatred, of anger, when Nigerians realize that one day into the administration, subsidy is gone, with the attendant pains that it will inflict, with so much pains, then inflicted as a result of that on Nigerians. So the story as reported by Nigerian journalists is accurate. There's nothing for the minister to deny. In fact, in denying, she further gave credence to the story. But subsidy is something that we have to take a second look at. In the last 16 years, we have spent about $30 billion on subsidy. There comes a time when a country tells itself, can we continue? Because one of the reasons for endless borrowing by our country is because of revenue shortfall. And when you are spending 400 billion naira on subsidy every month, there's no way you will not have revenue shortfall. Because if that money were to be put somewhere else, of course, the effect will be visible. We are spending 400 billion every day now. I said every month. It's actually every day. Because when fuel prices went up to in the international market, when it went and up to 300, when the landing cost came to 315 naira per liter. Government was subsidizing by up to 200, up to 200 naira. There's a difference of 200 naira there. So by the time you calculate all that, you are looking at about 401 billion naira daily. So if we are to be spending about 6 trillion naira on subsidy in a year, that is massive. That is really, really massive. 1.24 trillion naira monthly on subsidy. It's just not sustainable. Yeah, this whole subsidy thing began in the 70s, and we made a law to guide it. We wanted to, because oil prices were rising as a result of the Israeli Arab war, and government thought that it had to subsidize. At that time, about 72% of the entire cost of fuel was actually being subsidized. But today, government is subsidizing about 42%, at least when we look at since 2011, about 42%. So Nigerians have actually been taking in the cost of subsidy much higher than during the Obasanjo era, because it was Obasanjo that came up with the price control law and came up with those subsidies. There was literally subsidizing as a result of the oil boom that we were enjoying at that time. We were subsidizing healthcare, we were subsidizing water supply, we were subsidizing air travel. In fact, the Nigerian Airways subsidized its tickets. We were subsidizing even essential commodities like sugar, rice, and all of those essential commodities of that time. We were literally subsidizing everything. But today, it is inevitable that we have to do something about subsidy, not just of fuel, but even
Right,
electricity.
right. Because of our
So
time.
that is a decision that we have to take. We have to take this decision at some point in our lives. We just can't continue.
Absolutely.
Just can't continue.